Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in to today's episode of the Gold Mine Podcast. We have a special guest in the building. Lo, first of all, you are, I said we started like in a marketing group together, but you've definitely become a really good friend of mine. So thank you. Take Action Lo is in the building, y'all. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I just want to thank you, for asking me to be a part of your amazing podcast and what you're doing. And I'm just excited and proud of you. You doing your thing.
Thank you.
You're
Y'all,
welcome.
I got Lo on the podcast because we party together too. And I told her
Oh
I
yeah.
had I may or may not have some very interesting footage of you twerking or something like that. So either you do my podcast or
You're gonna put that out there, huh?
I'm putting it out there.
Man,
No, I'm just playing.
it's all good. I enjoy life, so I think you've learned that about me.
Yeah. Your energy is just infectious. Right? Like soon as
Thank you.
getting to know you, I found out we had a lot of similarities. We both grew up in very small kind of towns.
Yep.
Both grew up in church.
Mm-hmm.
But besides all of that, tell the people who you are. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, to kind of piggyback off what you just shared, I grew up in a small East Texas town, Henderson, and I'm an only child to my mother and only grandchild. So I grew up in a household full of love, and I had the opportunity to be expressive. So my mom worked a lot growing up, and I stayed with my grandparents and three uncles, my mom's brothers, who I absolutely adored. Two of them have since passed on, but I had a fantastic and fun and adventurous childhood growing up. Now I knew in middle school, I knew in high school that the entrepreneurial bug was a part of me. I knew I probably wasn't going to go the traditional route of graduate high school, go to a four-year university, and work on a job for 30 years and retire. I knew early on that that probably wasn't going to be my path. And I'm sure it scared my mom to death early on. But soon out of high school, I got into the military. And because I just wanted to kind of break away. I was bigger than where I was, as you would say, growing up in a small East Texas town. And I was also, I grew up in the church. So, and I come from a family of singers. I was a gospel artist. Joined or created a group, me and two of my cousins. We formed a group called Perfect Praise in my early 20s. And long story short, we went to this talent competition here locally in East Texas, where Steve Harvey, back in the 90s. Now, you probably weren't even born then, but anyway, he was he was the host, and a really close friend of his lived here in East Texas. And they did a local Showtime at the Apollo competition. We entered the competition and won.
Wow.
So it was a big deal. And first, the winner had a chance to perform live on the Apollo. So I performed live, on the Apollo. This was late 90s.
I'm always
And it was a
learning
big
so
deal.
much about you all the time. Like it's crazy. And
So that's an interesting fact. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, not to cut you off, but
You
it
good.
was funny you said like you kind of felt bigger than where you came from. And it's because we
Mm-hmm.
kind of talked about that before. I definitely hated where I came from. And as soon as I could leave, I was like, I'm out of here. And it's interesting that um that's part of it is interesting because I feel like vision is so important. And even
Yes.
as a small child or just growing up, having a vision that's bigger is something that has to be put inside of you.
Yes.
Like it has.
Absolutely.
in order for you to want or desire more than sometimes some people have even seen. They just feel like this environment is not it, you know? So
Yes.
that speaks volumes to who you are and what you gone on to accomplish. So that's dope. Okay, you
Awesome.
can finish.
Okay, no problem. No, thanks for sharing that. And but to also share with that, it was my family. My family, I saw my uncles, they were older, they went off. One of my uncles was a trained opera singer. He performed when President Clinton was a governor in Little Rock. I mean, he has a picture with him in my grandparents' house, so and here at my mom's house.
Yeah.
So I grew up around uncles, my mom, just family that did other things and bigger things.
Mhm.
So I felt that, if you will. But to kind of, fast forward into entrepreneurship on the level of real estate, because I worked for Countrywide. So I did get a job at Countrywide, and I worked there for about 4 or 5 years until we were laid off in 2007, I believe. And the housing market, the economy was bad. So I just jumped in with both feet. I had already started studying real estate investing and getting started, and no money down type investing and all that, about 6 months before we were laid off. And once they laid us off, I didn't look back. And I knew it was going to be a risk. I knew it was going to be a challenge. But, and this was right before I met my partner. I met my wife, Carla.
Okay.
And during that time, early on, once we kind of, we connected, and I let her know up front. I said, this what you're dealing with me, I am a entrepreneur at heart, and these are the things that I want to do. And if you can roll with me with that, hey, we're gonna make it. And she was like, okay. And during that time, she was working for Countrywide. That's when we met. And so as we started dating, I started, getting involved in real estate full time. She was still working, corporate job. And it wasn't until I was asked to be a guest panelist at the Black Enterprise Expo in Atlanta. And I believe this was 2009, 2008. She came with me. We went to Atlanta, and it was a paradigm shift from that moment. That whole experience was like, okay, you know what? We're going to take this to the next level. And I had already talked to her about us partnering and working together, in the business. And from that trip, that's when she made the decision. She said, yep. She said, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And what's so crazy is, she's shy, she's reserved. And anything with sales or, real estate, she's like, what? No. I mean, that was the initial response when I had first talked to her about it. But
Mhm.
after that experience, that's when we joined together.
Oh, okay. Wow. I have a lot. All right. First of all, is Countrywide like a real estate thing?
Well, Countrywide is no more. It was Countrywide Home Loans, and I believe they were bought out by Bank of America. So
Okay.
yeah, that's where we originated loans and in sales, for the
Okay.
helping people to refinance, all the good stuff.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a huge risk because 2007, I graduated high school in
Oh my
2006.
God.
Okay. But during that time, though, is when everything was horrible. Like
Hmm.
the markets were just trash. Like basically, they were telling us, like, yeah, you're going to go to school, you're not going to be able to find a job. Like everything was really, really bad at that time.
Hmm.
So for you to say, okay, I got laid off, but I'm just gonna go out here and make it happen for
Yep.
myself. Even jumping into something that's totally new
Hmm.
for you was a huge risk.
Yep.
And that's crazy. You gotta have some balls for that,
You
okay?
do, you do, you do, you do. And
That's
I and my,
crazy.
and I remember during that time, my mom she was concerned, but
Mhm.
she's always been supportive. But she would ask her questions, but she's like, okay, well, just be prepared for X, Y, and Z, and we're here, as a family to help you. So I can definitely say that, and I'm so grateful for them because they always have been. They may not have always agreed with
Mhm.
all of my decisions, but they at least allowed me to say, okay, well, this is what she want to do, this is what she want to try. We're gonna be there for her. If she crash and burn, or if she, does well and makes it, we're gonna be there either way. So I
Yeah.
do want to point that out, because I know a lot of people don't necessarily maybe have that support, but I've had it.
Yeah, that's super important too, especially coming from a church background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are so many black and whites and rights and wrongs. And
Mm-hmm.
when you do leave and go out on your own, you know, to be able to make your own mistakes, make your own decisions, it sounds like a no-brainer. But for a lot of people who come from that church background, we're so family oriented and like not almost kind of not like an independent thinker,
Mm-hmm.
because you have like these rules that you have to kind of go by. So coming from a place where you have the support of, you know, maybe I don't agree, but I'm going to be here to support you is huge. I'm
It
lucky
is.
to have had that. I think back now on some of the decisions that I made. One, just traveling in healthcare by myself,
Mm-hmm.
traveling all over the United States, coming from Alabama, like I knew I felt like I wanted more, but I didn't know that much more. And my family still supported me and was like, all right, go, no, do your thing. My mom was scared. She didn't want me to go, but having that support is everything.
It
So
is.
I'm glad you brought that out. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was um the Atlanta trip. What was
Mm-hmm.
it about that trip that was it seeing people like you who were successful, or like what was it that just was like, okay, this is it, this is it?
That, yeah, that part.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is one of my mentors reached out to me, who I had worked with before, and he knew that I had gotten started in real estate. And uh, during that time, he was a big, commercial real estate developer in New York. And he reached out. He had his assistant reach out to me and said, hey, because he, ran around and still runs around in those circles of, just higher end type corporate CEOs of Procter and Gamble and Visa. So he had his assistant reach out to me and ask, hey, you want to be participate on a panelist, talk about real estate at the Black Enterprise Expo, in Atlanta. I'm like, what? Of course. And I was looking back at it, I didn't have half of the experience that I have now. And it's so crazy. And I was still learning, but I said yes. And Carla and I and my aunt at the time, when she was here, God rest her soul, helped out a lot. So did my family. But my aunt was really good at bios. I just had to tighten everything up, right? And get it to them so they can market it. But just like you said, once we went there, it was just the community, it was the environment, it was seeing us doing, and having these businesses and having the success that a lot of them had then, and seeing that, it was just igniting. And it did, it impacted both of us, Carla and I, and we came back different. And
Yeah.
that's when we really made the commitment to say, you know what, we are going to work this business, we're going to do this and work it together. And we haven't looked back since.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you didn't let the imposter syndrome stop you. And I know that so many people listening to this can attest to that. So many times we feel like we're not ready for an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, or I don't know that much, and just the exposure in itself can change
Yes.
you in so many different ways. So that's a word. That's a sermon right there.
Amen.
But that's super
Indeed.
dope. Okay, well, so so you shift, you say, hey, let's do this together.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of already spoke on a little bit about, Carla being more shy. If
Mm-hmm.
y'all don't know it, Lo is reserved on here, but she is a party animal, okay? She is full of wisdom. She has a story for every situation.
Every.
She's lived a lot of life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
And so I know that number one, doing a business with somebody you're in a relationship is probably a thing. But then both of your personalities are so different. Like,
Yep.
how have you guys made that work? Like, is it like a yin yang? It's a good thing, or has it been challenging? I have a thing of asking a lot of questions in
No,
one
you're
thing.
good.
Okay.
Nope, you're good. You're good. And if I forget to answer one of them, just bring me back.
Okay.
But I will say this: it was difficult. It was really difficult in the beginning,
Okay.
um, because we were learning and just trying to figure it out, and having to deal with each other's differences in personality. You know, um, with her being more reserved and shy, but also at the same time, she comes from corporate and management, so she feels something should go one way.
Yeah.
And with me, I'm more, and also she's more kind of organized and let's kind of assess this and look at it. And I'm like, oh, I learned the basics or the foundation. Boom, let's take action and
Yes.
make it happen. So, and those are different, right? And we've just had to learn over time, even now, to respect each other's gifts and talents and what we're good at, and work with that, if you will. So that has helped us to be able to work better, today. Now we still bump heads here and there. I mean, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, but we've learned to deal with it better. Now, I can also say this: during the early days, when we started working together too, we started having, I did some personal things happen, family tragedies, and I was a mess, and I was just kind of going through the motions at one point, and just being really honest, drinking heavily, just kind of in a depressed state. And Carla would, help me, keep me motivated, still work the business. And I mean, it was just remembering and thinking about that. I'm just grateful, because
Yeah.
she could have easily said, I don't want to do this. I don't, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I've had to help her deal with different family tragedies, and, work through just hardships.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, we've been able to do it together and come out
Mhm.
okay and still be okay. But just older and wiser and understanding that life is going to happen. But, this is how we bounce back before. So we just going to keep it moving. But, you know, it's so interesting to think about it now, how we got through some of the hardest times.
Mm.
And I'm just grateful, because I know a lot of people, we know different colleagues in the business who are also married that didn't make it
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so it affected the relationship too?
oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Oh yeah. For a season, it strained the personal. There's no way the business can be, you're off with business and the money, and you going through personal issues and it not impact, your relationship.
Mhm.
So we've had counseling. We've gotten counseling in the past to help with not only our marriage, but also with healing, and just, grief, getting through the hard times of losing, like her dad, when she
Mhm.
lost her dad in 2018. And I lost my aunt and uncle tragically in 2013. And it took me a little bit to really process that and get through that. I had to get some individual counseling.
Yeah.
So just difficult. But I mean, life happens to everybody, but it's just how you choose to deal with it. What's that quote? 10%, life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you deal with it,
Yeah.
right?
How you react to it? Yeah.
How you react to it. And that is
Yeah.
so true. But I'm gonna tell you what has helped us. I'm gonna credit our faith,
Mhm.
definitely God, our family, some very close friends, and the ability for Carla and I to want to make it work
Mhm.
and communicate. So I think those would probably be the top, things that has helped us
Yeah.
still be able to shake and bake like we doing together and work the business.
Yeah. That's dope. And I think that it speaks so much to how important partnership is, because I know me personally doing a business by myself and hitting one of those hard times personally, and basically I had to stop. Like I had to literally put it down, and there wasn't that other person there that could keep things going for me. So that's amazing, and it speaks volumes on just the advantages of having a partner in business.
Yeah.
If you do choose to go that route. Um,
Right.
Other thing was, I was going to ask, was it a time where you guys, because of your personalities, had to define, okay, these are my roles, these are your roles, this is what you're going to be over? Like, did that happen or whatever?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
We had to come to a point where, Carla's like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Period. This is, and for me, okay, this is what you good at. This is what you going to do.
Yeah.
And it took some time, but now we understand by doing that, we are helping each other to become more successful, not only individually, but as a unit.
Yeah.
So like now, Carla is a top producing agent. She's about to cap again, and she's a certified mentor. And just thinking, and 10 years ago, or however long it's been, 10 or 11 years ago, when I initially talked to her about, her getting her real estate license and doing videos. Oh my God, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
She's like, hell no, hell to the no. We've come from that to her just, man,
Yeah.
shining and just doing her thing. So I'm just grateful.
Yeah. That's dope. That's super dope. Okay, let's talk about some things you would have done differently. Because I mean, of course, we all make mistakes and we learn. And you've talked a lot about some of it already. But are there anything? Is there anything in particular you would have done differently now that you're where you are now?
As far as the business or Carl and I's
Just
relationship or
like
working
working
together,
together. Yeah.
um, I would have definitely, if I could change anything, one of the things I would change is listening and really respecting what she does well, instead of me trying to alter that or push my thoughts or views or ways. Because a lot of times when we did that, it didn't work.
Mhm.
Or it was time wasted, or she was just doing it because I made such a fuss about it. Just really, saying, okay, I'm gonna let you do your thing. So instead of trying to bogart, if you will, or change things up, if that makes sense, or try to have her to do something maybe that she's not good at, or be pissed if she didn't, and just listening more. So that's something I definitely would have changed early on, because that caused a lot of arguments and frustrations and wasted time.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the big things I would change looking back
Yeah.
at it for me.
Yeah.
So
So as like, I don't really know it uh, how real estate how it works with that, but like, has there been any pushback from people or working with other people, knowing that you are working or your business partner is also your wife? Like, has that had any type of, effects on the business?
that is a great question, and I will answer yes.
Okay.
You know how people are when they don't really say things, but the actions, tell you. And I'll give you a prime example. Uh, there was a client. There's been several. There was a client I think Carla had talked with over the phone. Great rapport, and she, she was going to meet him, set up a meeting to go and get the listing, right? And all of a sudden, when she goes to follow up, she can't get in touch with him. don't follow up, don't answer back, nothing like that. I mean, just for no reason. I mean, it was a done deal, right?
Yeah.
So it was frustrating. And I told her, I said, well, I said, what's on your social media? So, and I think during that time, it was a lot of pictures of us. And I think, sharing or supporting the LGBTQ community, just different things like that. So for me, if I've built a rapport with someone, especially if it's a new person I've talked to or met and they haven't really investigated me or investigated her yet,
Yeah.
and everything's great and we got verbal, deal to do business together, whatever, and you drop off,
You kind of
you know,
learn. Okay.
yeah, you kind of learn. So, and but that's me. I could be wrong,
Mhm.
but when it just doesn't add up to why, there's no other reason other than,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay. So I feel like we have, but we definitely don't let that stop us.
Okay.
I fully believe that uh, who you attract is who you attract to do business with. And listen, we have a diverse group of people that follow us and that's a part of our tribe and even our clients. They're not just Black. There's one guy, his name is Steven. He lives in California. I've never met him, but he found me online. He's an older white guy. Found me online. We've done a lot of business together. He's invested, in me to learn more about real estate investing. We actually got a deal working now. And he loves me to death.
Mhm.
So you never know. You never know who you will attract to do business with you, but you have to put yourself out there. And that's something that we've learned over
Yeah.
time in business. And I had to learn that. I got a confession.
Okay.
I got a confession in the beginning, and this was another problem we had in our marriage, our relationship. In the beginning, I really didn't want to expose our marriage, our relationship for that reason. I
Got you.
didn't want people to say, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to do business with her. She's cool. She's smart. Oh, she's got this experience. She's got these testimonials, but she's a lesbian. So I don't want to do business with her. So I tried to hide that. And I never really would mention Carla. Well, obviously that became a problem
Mm,
in
yeah.
our marriage. And
We
she's
not
like,
having that. You're not
we're
gonna
not having
acknowledge
that.
me.
Exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. So I had to make the decision. I had to make the decision, and I did. I said, you know what? This is my wife. I love her. This is us. If
Yeah.
we're gonna do this together, and that was her thing. If we're gonna do this together, we're gonna do this together. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't looked back, and God has been blessing our business. So, you know, you just
Yeah.
live and learn, right? You make
Yeah.
adjustments, you keep it moving.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. But that's cool to know. Um, and I think that that could speak to a lot of different people. We were listening, we're doing a series on relationships at my church, and Pastor Robert is Black and his wife is Taylor, is she's white, so they're interracial couple, and he talks about all the time like how that sometimes causes people, you either draw them or you don't. So
That's
I
right.
think um like you said, making adjustments and knowing, being secure in who you are, and knowing that your clientele and the people that you're supposed to work with are the people you're supposed to work with, and being okay with there are going to be some people that it's a no, and you got to be
Hard
okay
no.
with that. You got to be okay with that. Okay,
Yep.
so do you have any tips for anybody that's doing a business with somebody they're in a relationship with, or a business partner that, you've been in business? How long have you been in business? Have
Four-
you been doing it?
14 years.
14 years.
Yep.
Successful. Listen,
Thank you.
Flo knows her stuff, okay? They're doing big things over there. What would do you have any tips for that?
Absolutely. Boundaries. One thing we've had to learn and we have on the calendar is at a certain time, especially on the weekends, we cut off work. Unless it's a contract or something coming in and, or we have a agent, one of our team members or mentee that has a deal, and they need help with or whatever, then, we'll take those calls or whatever. But for the most part, cut work off
Yeah.
so we can have our time. So we've had to learn that.
Yeah.
You can't just work all the time and expect to have a successful marriage or relationship. You have to make time
Yeah.
for each other outside of business. You have to make sure you continue to communicate. Communication is everything. We talk about pretty much everything. I know I share with her, even stuff she don't want to hear, but if it's what I'm feeling and I need to release, I'll share it with her.
Mhm.
And she's always, told me that she appreciates that and loves me for that. So, and vice versa. So communication, set your boundaries, shut work off, make time for
Yeah.
you all to, to spend together outside of work, do fun events. I'm silly, I'm silly.
Yeah.
So, just do fun stuff, watch movies, comedy, just things like that, travel or, whatever. You have to make time for each other. So I think those two are the biggest things.
Mhm.
So you have to learn how to separate work and really make sure you don't lose each other.
Yeah, that's dope. And you've also told me to separate having your own thing too, respecting each
Yes,
other, you know.
exactly.
Not,
Like when we hung out,
yeah,
and even with the marketing group, marketing on purpose, it's
yeah,
that's a part of what that's my thing,
yeah,
right? And she's cool with that. She has
yeah,
her things. So
yeah,
that is exactly right.
yeah. That's dope. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, you've been dropping gems. This has been really inspiring just to hear your story and how you got to where you are, and um just being or hearing from someone who's been doing it for 14 years, and has made it successful, a successful venture, is very inspiring. I don't
Thank you.
know where my husband at and if we're gonna do business together, but I definitely know I will go in like, all right, here's your role, here's my role, here are boundaries, what when we cutting off, like
That's it.
all of that. Because I definitely can tell that's very important, super important to do. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for
You're
coming
welcome.
in. Is there
Yes.
anything else you want to talk about? Tell us about, first of all, by now, Lo is a realtor. And if you're in Texas, definitely hit her up. But you're also a mentor. So you help other
Yes.
realtors market and do that whole thing. So you can talk about that for a second also.
Sure. Yes. Well, wow. When I first started, I was an investor. So
Okay.
and started out wholesaling, and also started teaching other real estate investors how to wholesale. So that's really like my core foundation background. Fast forward, to 7 or 8 months ago, I got my real estate license. Finally decided to get my real estate license. A number of reasons why. Things are changing, and as they all do. And as an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to pivot and shift.
Yeah.
So Carl and I had talked, and in pivoting and shifting our business, one of the things that we saw as an asset was for me to get my real estate license. And with the amazing brokerage that we partnered with, we've created an additional residual income by sponsoring and mentoring other agents. And that's what I mainly focus on. So not only just a realtor, but a real estate coach. And if you're a realtor or if you're thinking about it, even if you're not in Texas, we can work with you, all 50 states. And there's several countries, even if you're out of the country and you're interested as a realtor, you're interested in learning how to leverage social media, video marketing to generate leads and to scale your business. That's my area of expertise. We'd love to work with you.
Yeah. Did you watch Selling Tampa?
Well, I've seen a little bit, a few
Okay,
of those.
so y'all know just having your real estate license is not enough because some of them girls
Right.
on there was not selling. All right. If you want to be a real estate agent who
Right.
actually makes some money and sell, come see Take Action Low. Uh,
Absolutely.
she will help you do that thing. Okay.
Sure will. And help you build wealth in the process. So
Okay. Okay. That's what we're here for.
that's
Okay.
it.
Gotta get to these coins. But
Okay.
thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
stopping by, and all of your information will be in the show notes. So definitely check that out and give Lo a holla if you need her services. So thank you guys so
Absolutely.
much for listening, and we will
Yes.
see you later.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.